Well, hello and welcome, everybody. We are back for ZRL Season 3 21-22. I'm Kate Bates, joined as always by Anna Russell. Anna, welcome back. This season has a whole lot to offer. We'll start unpacking that, but how's your off-season been?
It's been pretty good. I decided to build a computer in the off season, so hopefully we make it through the show without wiring catching on fire or things going wrong. So yeah, I hope so. If you see flames erupting behind me, it's because the PC has caught alight. But yeah, no, it's been great. We've got a pretty exciting season coming up. I know a few people are getting out onto the roads or they're prepping themselves for their in real life summer seasons over in the Europe kind of America zone. But here we are with Apac and we're kind of heading into that wintry weather when esport comes to the fore.
It is. It's perfect for APAC. So tonight we'll actually kick off the season in a way that we haven't before, and that is with a scratch race. So no intermediate sprints, no talking about first across line or fastest through segment. It's just one straight lap, 30.2 kilometres of the road to ruins. So Anna, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, here we go with this course, Road to Ruins, that Katie was just talking about. So, yeah, interesting. No intermediates for this one, which I kind of like. It's sort of a nice little change up. Really, it kind of focuses on that individual rider as opposed to sort of the team game and trying to get all the points. So I like this. It's kicking off with a bit of an individual focus. Obviously, we've got a big bike swap decision, but we've actually got Cy Bradley, who's got a video which we'll show next. He'll talk a little bit about that. Interesting course though, 29.6k, it just goes over 30 with the lead in, bit of dirt, bit of hills, sprint to finish. It's going to be pretty exciting, I think.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of bike changes. We can unpack that. And it is a very interesting course, I think, to kick off the season. And certainly it will change the whole way it's raced, given that there are no intermediate sprints along the way. We've gotten very used to seeing team tactics built around different strategies to accrue the points along the way, which have certainly included and are using some of the riders early on to get points and others to hold on a bit for the finish. That will all get turned on its head a bit, not only because of the no points along the way, but also just by nature of the way the course is. So I think that'll be an interesting way to kick off. Now, once again, we will cover the men and the women tonight. And the plan is for the Cat A for the men and the Cat B for the women, but we will see what's happening out on course around that. Anna, we've got a few new segments to play with, but let's just start by taking a look at Cy and what he had to say.
Hey Zwifters, and welcome to Downtown Watopia for Stage 1, Season 3, the WTRL Zwift Racing League. Today's stage is Road to Ruins, 30.2 kilometres, 276 metres of elevation, and it all starts here. 8 weeks of racing ahead. For today's stage, there's no first across the line or fastest through segments. It's all about those finish line points and, of course, the dirt roads of the jungles. But it starts here. We're going to roll out of downtown Watopia for 4.8 kilometres before we reach this point here, the switchbacks of the Apac Con. But don't worry, we're only doing the first 1.2 kilometres of this climb. But this is where you can attack or hold on to those wheels. It's when we get to the top of this first section that we roll through these gates and head towards the jungle. A little bit of a climb before we descend towards those dirt roads. And it's this point when we hit the dirt roads, you need to make that decision. Do we stick with the road bike or do we switch to a gravel or even a mountain bike? We've got 9.9 kilometres here on the dirt, so it's enough to make a difference and potentially open up some of those gaps. We're going to leave the dirt roads and head back onto the tarmac at kilometre 17.5. From then on in, it's 12 kilometres of tarmac all the way home towards this point here, the finish line of downtown Watopia, where you will need that sprint power to maximise those finish line points. Good luck and ride on.
I love Sai. That was great. He's awesome. So he's summed it up very well. I like what he does. If you want to check it out, he does leading up to every event, a bit of a sort of, what do you call it, recon. We've actually been having messages back and forth about the bike swap. I'm going to do it. I'm racing tomorrow for all my competitors. I'm going to do the bike swap. I've practiced. I've got it down to about 8 seconds. Going to do it.
How many seconds?
8 seconds.
8.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we head down to pictures, Anna, do you then swap back for that final 12.6 odd kilometres? Because it's not just one bike swap, really. It's kind of 2 that you're committing to. Yeah,
you do. You've got to do 2 bike swaps. But I kind of think, what the hell? I mean, first race of the season, it's not as though, it's risky. You could lose a bunch and have to TT the whole way back. But I figured the bike swap back, if I've lost the bunch, I'll just jump on a TT bike and literally TT to the finish line like a triathlete.
Well, yes, you could you could definitely do that. But I do agree with the spirit of give it a go. And, I certainly am very fond of riders who take a few risks out there. Now, speaking of which, Anna, we've got a few fun things this season that we're going to drop in along the way. And we don't want to give it all away because, we want people to get a bit of a giggle when they happen. But one thing that we will be looking out for is our 5K hero.
Oh.
We will be kind of picking and choosing the riders each week who we are just super impressed with for the way that they are attacking the race. Anybody who does a bike swap and is still there with 5K to go, I reckon gets there at the top of that list.
So here are the rules to the 5K to go hero. At 5K to go, I'm going to be playing a noise and I have final choice. But we will chat about it throughout the race. We'll have the socials coming in. They'll tell us. I'll actually take us to the race that has started for the women as we talk about this. But yes, I will.
Do you like having that power, Anna, that you get the final say?
I love it. Absolutely. Nathan said, who should have the final say in this? I was like, yeah, definitely the producer should have the final say.
Is that because I missed the... Is that because I missed the meeting, Anna? Is that what happens when I miss meetings?
That's what happens. I get to make the final say. So there we go. That's what we'll be doing. Come into the socials. Tell us who you think. So it could be anyone. It doesn't have to be anyone who's winning. It just, like you said, maybe someone who's risked it all with a bike change. Maybe someone who has done some attacks off the front and made it interesting. Maybe someone who's made a really good fashion choice. That is also something else I'm going to be pulling in. I will pull it in right now because I'm really proud of the work I did on this little person. If you hear this noise, it's because I've seen something great in the fashion department. There we go. And that's when we'll be talking about fashion.
Oh, there you are down the bottom.
So that's what we got. Come into the socials. Tell us what you think. I can already see people is coming in big time around the bike swap. Should they do that or not? Haynes has said if you're less than A, go for a swap. Well, I'm in A category and I know it's risky, but I just... throw caution to the wind. I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Well, the worst that can happen is you get dropped. And I suppose if that's the worst that can happen, no biggie, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it should be fine.
Yeah.
So it does look like we're here with the B woman. We've got TBR Smile on. They're a great team. Always get Lucy talking to me about what their cocktails of choice are. They've actually got one they've sent through, so I'll mention that a bit later in the show. But we do have TBR. We're up against Tune Bike Works, which is in that yellow kit, or also AHDR, who's always around. And there is a red kit, Rave. Love the Rave kit as well.
The Rave kit, some of the kits last season was sensational. I'm looking forward to checking them all out this season to see if there might be a few changes. Very hard to see when they're underwater. But when they pop out, we'll be able to have a little bit more of a look. As always, there's a few familiar names, Anna. Kim Kern-Stokes is the one that I can see at the top of my list. We love having her back. She's been fantastic. Melissa Fung, she was like our little pocket rocket last season. Corinne Dolan. I'm not sure if you remember the ride where Corinne just kept attacking and attacking and attacking to finally get away and win, and that was a sensational ride from her. So I think having... and Lucy Isdale, I see her out there as well. Having a lot of the familiar names back is fantastic. Hence Semenko, gosh, I feel like we said that name on repeat last season.
Oh,
And so we've kind of got the really impressive familiar faces back, which is fantastic.
I do have to mention Hen Semenko because, like I've said, I love her name. I will just take us over to the men's race, which has kicked off as well. So I want to make sure we're covering both of them here. Apparently, I'm saying it wrong. So I'm not quite sure what I'm saying wrong with Hen Semenko, but yeah, not correct. She has let me know.
Okay, has she given some pronunciation suggestions?
No, so she's going to have to come through and tell me. I know usually she was watching as she was racing, but if someone could tell me how I'm pronouncing Hen Semenko, maybe it's Henzi Semenko.
I think I've been saying Hensa, but I'm not suggesting that's right by any stretch of the imagination. I actually do like when people, because we go across every time zone, and just because it's Apac doesn't mean we have all Smiths and Joneses, although we do tend to have a lot of Smiths, Joneses and Hills, as it happens. Speaking of, it's good to see Sam Hill out there. He's had a pretty handy season since we were last on community racing, including the World Championships where the Aussies were, pretty good, Anna. They were pretty good. Can I say that?
Yeah, I mean...
so it's good to have him out there.
All comes down to the de-essing, right? So obviously you did a good job. I mean, what were you in the men's?
Totally.
First, second, fourth or something?
That's correct, yeah.
Oh, gosh, yeah, I mean...
So it's good to see that they've shown up for this season. Aero have shown up with an absolutely gun team again. They've also got Torben Patridge Madsen. Geez, talk about saying names wrong. Hello, week one. And Torben is also, one of the big names in Aussie esports racing. So sensational to have him back. Mark O'Brien. Oh, I'm really sorry to all the other riders out there when I see his name. He'll attack nothing short of 472 times per race. Nick I'm right. Nick Squalari, he's our time trial specialist. He's out there as well. Sam Lindsay. Hold on, Anna.
I saw him.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is something we need to touch on, is there's no Premier Division anymore. Well, not anymore, but at the moment. And so a lot of Premier races will be coming into this A category. So that's why we're seeing the likes of Sam Lindsay, because I think he was racing for ZWC. Is that Sam Hill there as well?
It is Sam Hill, yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah,
that's exciting. Yeah, so Aero has obviously got some of their Prem riders into this A category in APAC, which is awesome. I know as well we also have a what would they call? Was it Atlantic race going on 5 minutes after this one? So we may actually get to the point we could pull in 3 races. We'll see how well my internet copes with 3 different races coming into the system. But yeah, that is something we could look at as well. Mark Bowstead is here. He was guest riding for Aero in Prem League. So good to see him coming back to the Kiwi side of things. Want to call out Trent Stevenson, who I've just seen from Alien Inc. I was actually riding a recon ride yesterday, which he was on, and we were chatting about bike swap. And he was great. He kind of rode next to me so I could figure out how much time I would actually lose. So really nice guy. I said that I'd give him a shout out. I actually said to him I would give him an extra shout out and maybe this 5 kilometer hero award if he did the bike swap. So we're going to have to see what he decides to do.
All right, well, let's see what he decides to do there. We've also got Mon Rich. He's back with ZWC. Kenta Endo. He's been super handy over the last couple of seasons. John Story's back. That's another one for you, Anna.
Yes, love John Story.
Our absolute lungs on legs on a bike, and let's see how his tactics have evolved even further over the little off season. And Tabalong, I know, is a favourite for you as well with NZ Pro. So
yes, do like Tabalong.
I'm pretty excited about this start list.
Oh, it's looking good. This is looking like a hot start to the season. We are in with the women's BCAT. I just wanted to have the side-by-side because we are at a crucial part of the course for the women. They are going up this, it's sort of the start of the epic climb. You don't go up all the way, but we can see Michelle here from WTRL. She's really kicking it off the front. I'm looking at the riders with disc wheels because this is, I am completely outlining my strategy here for tomorrow is to smash this climb to get a lead to be able to do the bike swap. And I'm thinking anyone with a disc wheel could be wanting to do that strategy because they're going to be really slow in the dirt.
That's not a bad strategy. I mean, I think I'm always interested when people are really protective of I understand not laying out your full strategy. It's not like you take a photo of your whiteboard and send it round. But, things like bike selection and, I think because that isn't what is going, it might work for some and it might not work for others. So you still have to really consider your strengths and weaknesses. There's not one general strategy that works for everybody across the board. There's some riders who will just be hanging on by the skin of their teeth up this section. And it was interesting in the recon, Anna, where Sai said you're only climbing for 1.6 kilometres in this section. And I thought, clearly not a sprinter.
Yeah.
Only 1.6 kilometres, that can still do an awful lot of damage if ridden properly.
Yeah, exactly. We're seeing the men, they are now coming towards this part of the climb. We will have a look to see if there's any attacks coming through from them, but looked like the women mostly stayed together. I can see Hen Semenko, I'm always going to mention that name, just dropping a little bit off the back. She's back on just to the tail end. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Flanders race over the weekend. I bet you did, but
I did, yes.
yeah, these climbs kind of remind me of that. Really short, less than a kilometre, just all out, just try and drop people. You can see the men on the left-hand side. They are coming up to that climb now. We'll go full picture for them because I think we might see some fireworks.
We've got about 17 left in that front group. In the women, we expect a bit of damage happening over here in the men, but let's see how this starts to play out. We've got the acceleration already. Torben Partridge Madsen, he is not wasting any time, reminding everybody that Premier League for the time being is being folded back into Community League. Some of the names we've got up there, Fabian de Vola, incredible to have him back.
Oh, this is great. This is blast from the past, Katie. I loved these guys. Like, was it 2-3 seasons ago? They absolutely lit it up. Oh,
it's fantastic, but it's going to change the dynamic of the racing. Look at the orange from the front four that we had for a section there. This gap is just stretching out enough that we could see quite a clear break happen here if some serious chasing doesn't happen when they duck over the top. Again, you might not think that 1.2, 1.6K is a long way, but if you do the damage from the bottom, it can be very disabling. And we've got just some serious class amongst this bunch, and you can see that they're not going to sit around and just wait for the action to happen. They will force it. If it does all regroup a bit, I fully expect riders to continue to go over the top. Mark O'Brien, I'm looking at you. And I think that this will be one of the most aggressive races.
Look at this already. I mean, I don't know if it's too early for this yet, but Fashion Police, that Deepak team is looking on point. Look at those matching yellow Trons right with their little kit there, just looking fantastic. I mean, they just, look at that. Amazing vertical shot as well. They're the team after my heart. Look at that, matching white socks, black gloves to go with the kit. There is not a colour in there that doesn't go with that kit. One's got a black helmet, one's got a white. Oh, it is phenomenal.
So they're heading through now. They're not too far off the jungle portion now, Anna, which is going to be quite the interesting part. Partridge Madsen with the disc wheel. So your take on that is that will be a bit of a suffer through the dirt. So on that basis, is your theory that he's going to change bikes?
No, I don't. Look at this break though. What? 7 riders in the front here. 10 seconds. He could, because I don't think this group is big enough to have a huge drafting advantage. I actually think this could be looking good. So the place Sai has said to do it, I've actually got notes on my wall. 8.8 kilometres. The women are at 7.3. Well, take it back to the split screen. Women at 7.3, men at 6.5. 8.8 is the magic spot to do a bike swap. Anybody I see doing that immediately goes into the shortlist for me for the 5 kilometer hero. So let's keep an eye out. Not too long for the women, just under a K to see if anyone's going to do this.
Yeah, this is a really interesting move. If we look over to what's happening at the women, it has regrouped a fair bit, and the pace, it's not off, but it's still very blobby. We used to say that a lot, blobby or a straight line to kind of indicate where the pace was at. And so that's a bit of an indicator as they're going slightly downhill that it's all fairly controlled. The men's is quite a different story. And as the little gaps start to open up, it's absolutely not insignificant at this point in the race. So it's just over 30 kilometres in total. We're not even near halfway. We're not even a third of the way through. We're literally like a quarter of the way through, Anna, and already we're seeing a front bunch forming of 7. And the pack behind starting to come a little bit closer, but having to put in a really solid effort to do so.
Yeah,
and they're talking change bikes. Are they suggesting it?
Oh, well, Sam Lindsay's gone off the front at 5.2. He's trying to make a bit of a split. I mean, someone's got to make it interesting, right? You may as well. Apparently, as Sai and I were chatting, it was better to sort of have a teammate who does it as well as Sam Lindsay drops off the back there. That group behind us catching fast too, you can see in the background. So it's better to have a teammate who could do this with you, and then you can join up together. Looking at these packs and the men and the women have passed the 8.8K mark. I have seen no bike swaps. They are all still there. No one has ground to a halt. There are some riders going pretty quick off the... Actually, no, we've got a bike swap. I lied, we've got bike swaps. Stopped. This is it. Who have we got on screen?
This
Mel,
is really
look.
This is quite a number of them.
Absolute gold. Perfect timing. 8.8K. They've stopped. Teammates have done it. All the AHDRL teammates have done it. This is poetry in motion. This is what I wanted to see. They are absolutely now in the running for that 5K Hero Award because that was phenomenal. Perfect execution.
Well, so let's talk through. I love how excited you are, Anna, by the way. I think that that's just part of what I love working with you is just how into it you get. Tell us about just the numbers, the data, the advantage of the bike swap and why it is so compelling. Because on the other side of it is the nerves about the amount of time it takes and the energy it takes to get back on. So tell us about just the raw data numbers and why you would do it.
Okay, if you can gain about a minute on a gravel bike on this part of the course, and it's not a short part of the course, it goes downhill and you'll gain a bit of time on the down and you'll gain a lot of time on the up. I am thinking that these riders I don't think any of those riders did a bike swap. They're a bit too scared. All of them out of that 5K Hero Award for me. I'm looking at this team of AHDRL, seeing if they'll catch up a minute faster. And the way this team has done it is perfect because they've got a draft benefit within their own team. So unfortunately, well, they're about 13 seconds behind this group ahead who are on Trons. Like I said, about a minute slower. So I am really interested to see how quickly this AHDRL team can catch up. They might not catch up a huge amount on the down, but they will be able to get a lot in the up. So they've done this really well. Already down to 10 seconds. It was up at 13. I found I caught up the 8 seconds about a third of the way up the climb and then had a huge gap after that. But this is two parts of the story, Kate, because you've got to catch up to the group, but you've also got to do that second bike swap like we talked about. So you're going to have to get ahead of the group by at least 20, 25 seconds. And then if that group stays together, you've got a big downhill coming up at the bottom of Apac. They'll just catch you up. So what's the success? Not sure. This is what we're going to see though, because they're down to 8 seconds. For all those people watching to see if they're going to do this over the next races in the coming days, keep an eye on this women's BCAT because this is what we're talking about.
It is interesting. You have to think about if you get back on with that bike change, are you trying to do it to then get an easier ride in the bunch and have more energy toward the back end? Or are you trying to do it to then attack and get that make the most that you can out of that 1 minute advantage that's potential through this section, which, neutralises at about 30 seconds really when you consider the bike change on either end, even if they are quick ones. So it's definitely not an open shut, right? Like, I really actually think to design this course as a race course, they've done really well that it isn't a clear option, and people really have to put a lot of thought and effort into trying out whether it'll work for them and what the dynamics of the race might do. What I did like, though, with the women that we saw is that they all did it together. And
Yes,
so they
perfect.
could then chase back on together and they could work together. And that really took away a lot of the pressure of losing a little bit of that time.
So here they come. You can see this group of AHDR ladies on gravel bikes just behind this pack of TBR. The whole group actually did it. 5 riders there changed the gravel bike. This is just, look at this. They are sprinting through the group. You will see how quickly they moved. Look at that. Blasts through. So they caught up. They're just at the end of the downhill line. They caught up 15 seconds. It is going to be so hard for these riders on Trons to keep up. And I think this has just been played absolutely perfectly. Look at this. Yeah. Already like moving ahead. This other group's going to try and get on their wheels, but I wonder what's going to happen when they hit that climb. I think it's just going to be game over.
That wasn't that a good show, just how fast they went past. And the onus that they now have to drop them. I think for this to have been worth it, of course, because if they don't have an advantage on the other side, then they'll just lose time while they're changing their bikes back. So they did, they did a very good job of catching up there, but can they then attack them en masse on the climb, or will it be less of an attack and maybe just putting the pressure on and actually riding away a little bit?
Because it's good to keep in mind that the purple riders, we'll call them the purple riders, Purple Armada, they are putting in significantly less power to stay in the group here. So they're probably recovering over this flat, which is a really good idea. Just kind of stay in here, get their energy back, and then really push it on the uphill that's coming up, and then get that big gap. And then they could basically have a 5-woman TTT all the way to the finish line. So yeah, depends though. I mean, the TBR crew, they're not going to just let them go away, but they're going to have to put in so much more effort to stay with them.
The power thing's interesting because sometimes you can actually, generate a whole lot more power than someone and still finish further back, and it depends about efficiency, and there's still a difference between saving power and it not really getting you anywhere versus using more and it also not really getting you anywhere. So that's a hard equation to really work out. You do know that it is saving you power by being on a gravel bike, but that doesn't necessarily go hand in hand with a better result because it isn't just the pure numbers. And I think that's, something to consider. If it was a time trial, it would be a lot more open and shut around time advantages. But it's a little bit different in a scratch race. I think it's great that there are no intermediate sprints in this one, that it's just a scratch race, because it also really changes the way they're racing, doesn't it? Because nobody needs to kind of fox and wait for different parts and to try and pick up points.
Yeah, exactly. Just looking at the profile here, so they're they're at 13.3K, so they're right at that bottom area that you can see before the sort of down and then up. And this is what I was talking about, AHDRL up to 7.1 watts per kg. Mel here, who are great rider. She's got her teammates behind her. They're going to be pushing so hard to really put the herd on TBR, which they are. I mean, we're looking at, Mel here, 208 beats per minute heart rate. Absolutely crazy here. Her teammate now coming through ahead, that's Georgia. We've got Michelle right on her tail. This is stringing out big time. Just want to say that the men are all sort of still together. There's a little bit of an attack happening from Sam Lindsay, so we will have a look at the side-by-side because there's a bit of action happening over there too. Sam Lindsay is now 2 seconds ahead of the group on that Tron. They are also on the climb. They're pretty much at the exact 13.7, exact same part of the course. Look at Henneken here from Rave. She is pushing hard to stay up with these guys. This could be a mistake from AHDRL. I love it still because they tried, but they've dropped who have we got there? Falaise from TBW, Tune Bike Works. They've dropped Lucy from TBR. They've dropped an HDRL rider. They've dropped pretty much all of the TBR riders. So this has been great. The only one has been able to stay on, and that's Lucy. Lucy number 2. I know we used to talk a lot about a Lucy from Smile On, so maybe we're talking about Lucy number 1.
Lucy Esdale is the Lucy that we have seen in the past. This is Lucy Singh. It's great that she is climbing really well. I really thought that Corinne Dolan was going to be on this course the real one to watch. When she is on form, she climbs like an absolute warrior. And, we see them racing so much, it would not be normal for them to be on form every time we were watching them race. But it is also worth considering that maybe they are playing their tactics a bit and sitting back with some riders rather than trying to force ahead with 5 of them. But it will cost them on the other end when they do need to do that bike change. In the men, we haven't really seen too many bike changes so far. Obviously, Sam Lindsay stayed on his Tron. And to remember that this kind of keeps going up. There is one or two little downs between like the 16 and the 17K mark, but it's about the 18.6 kilometre mark that it starts going down in earnest. So they've actually got quite a slog through here.
Yeah, and it's probably a good thing to note. We're now at 10K away from announcing our hero, our 5-kilometre hero of the race. So come into chat if you've got an idea. I mean, I'm liking what Sam Lindsay's doing here, but I know I'm always a little bit biased towards Sam Lindsay. I do like the Kiwi. But I got to say this TBR team, the AHDRL team, hard to pick just one though. I mean, would you pick a whole team? Can you do, I guess I set the rules, right?
I think since you've got final say off, Anna, you get to make the rules.
Okay.
On that one. But I think that we definitely almost pre-selected and said if no bike change happened, which kind of dents Sam Lindsay's chances a little bit. I mean, just to clarify, Anna, do you send pineapple lumps or something to the winner of the 5K hero? Is there an incentive?
Don't get me wrong. You get nothing. Yeah, nothing. It's purely the kudos. Yeah, you get the kudos. So I will go. I mean, at the moment, I'm leaning towards Team AHDRL bike change as my 5-kilometre hero. But if anyone else has any ideas, I've just had a question coming in. The women are on the climb. How much is their time gap? So we've got the AHDRL team who are on the better bikes. They are burning the other teams. I mean, it's about 15 seconds now back to if we use Lucy as our sort of marker. It's about 15 seconds back to the next rider. Lucy 2 is struggling to stay on, but we do have Henneken there from Rave, who's doing a great job, the German rider, sticking up with AHDRL. But yeah, about 15 seconds, 30 seconds back to Hen Semenko. So yeah, that answers your question. They're getting a huge amount of time.
And it's not too dissimilar in the men. It's about a 13, 14 second gap there as well. And it is quite a large group of them that are chasing these 3. Mark O'Brien's popped his head up, Anna.
Oh,
hello, Mark O'Brien. We've been waiting for you. Tabalong having another solid ride as well. Interesting to note that O'Brien is also on the Tron. So we actually thought it might go the other way where the fellas might jump on the gravel bikes more than the women, but it actually looks like it's gone the other direction. That may be the A's versus B's. Like you did say, Anna, there have been some comments around if you're an A, don't do it, but any of the other categories, you absolutely should.
Yeah, just had a lot of comments about Sam Hill. I've got to say he's a huge fan favourite, isn't he? From I think just the Zwift Academy, but also the work he did in the World Champs. I mean, you were on the other side of it, so you could hear everything going on. But man, he was a powerhouse who put a lot of work in for his team. What a great rider, eh? He's getting a lot of shout outs in the chat.
He is, and he's newlywed as well. He got married just
Oh,
before the world champ. So I think he can have like a couple of months newlywed glow as well. So we'll give him that. Well done. It is really good to see so many of the top Aussies out there tonight. And I know that Premier League missing leaves a bit of a gap in everybody's esports. And certainly for the Aussies, Anna, they had a very big kind of summer of cycling. And they do start the NRS soon. In fact, they do have a round this Sunday in Brisbane. But generally, there's a little bit of a gap now before the winter season really starts in earnest. So we will see a lot of the names out on the Zwift platform, staying a little bit warmer than they would out on the roads.
yeah, it is pretty. Oh, I was going to say it's cold. It's really hot right now here, but I don't know. Do we want to get into weather chat? I always find it's always a little bit boring me talking about what's happening here in Auckland. A little bit humid, say 65%, 66%. But we are seeing here, I've got the side screen. I do want to focus on the women. We've got Georgia from AHDRL having a bit of an attack off the front. 1 second now on her teammate Michelle. They're trying to drop Henneken, the Rave rider, because coming up at about 17.5 kilometers, so in about a kilometer's time, is when they're going to have to switch back to their road bike. And that's going to be interesting. They've got 15 seconds on the next TBR rider. So they've unfortunately got Henneken there from Rave, who's managed to stick on. Maybe she should be the 5K hero rider, sticking on with these girls on the dirt bikes. But yeah, Georgia's kicking off the front. Oh, that's actually a good call. It could be her. I like that call too. I think people need to tell
And she
me
does,
what they think.
well, Henneken, interestingly, doesn't, like, she has an average normalized power throughout this race. It's not, demonstrably different to any of the other riders, which is something that, we were discussing in relation to the watt saving and the time saving by doing that bike. And also her heart rate kind of suggests she's actually doing pretty well out there, which is, interesting when she is in the position she is. And it also makes us consider what happens when they do have to start changing bikes. And what position does that put Henneken in? Does she just keep going solo, or is she kind of thinking, oh, come on now? But she's only a level 31 Zwifter, so she doesn't have a huge amount of Zwift racing experience. But she is a triathlete. She's an Ironman triathlete, Anna. So fair to say,
strong.
yeah, fair to say if she ends up out there on her own, she'll be fine. She can sit at about 4 watts per kg for 20 minutes. So I reckon that she is in the perfect plumb position now. All she needs to do is just hang on to these ladies, and when they stop to change the bike, she kind of needs to go light the clappers and see what happens.
TT all the way to the finish. And I think that's going to
because
you would, wouldn't you? Oh, they're on the road now.
Because realistically, Fun, Miller and Bond, there's 30 seconds. So this is where it's happening now. So let's just put the clock on this a little bit.
They're rolling backwards. Oh, that's unfortunate. That was quick. That was quick. Look at that. They have got this
almost
down.
7 seconds.
Oh, unreal. Phenomenal there from Mel and Georgia. Michelle, a little bit off the pace, but wow, that was a bike change. I mean, I've got hotkeys. I know it's A, escape, T, 5 clicks, escape, 3 clicks, go. And it's it's nerve-wracking though when your heart rate's up around.
That's quite an algorithm you've just rattled off there.
When your heart rate's at 165 and you've got sweaty hands and you're trying to touch the keyboard, it is not easy. Henneken, 13 seconds ahead, but look at this. Falaise, Lucy, still 18 seconds back. Here we go. If you're thinking about a bike swap, this could be the way to go. Do it as a team.
Henneken has continued to open that gap up a little. So this is what's telling. It's not just that it was 12 seconds. It's that it's now 14 seconds, and we know that Henneken can hold 4 watts per kg until the very end. That is certainly nothing to be, I completely lost the word I was looking for. Welcome back, week one. But in comparison, Melissa Fung is a 3.3 watt per kilo 20-minute rider. There is, and because she's lighter, that's around 167 watts, where Henneken is looking at 222 watts for 20 minutes. Given the profile of the course that it goes down and essentially flat, that is a huge differential right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's chat coming in that they think that Henneken will get caught on the downhill coming up because the three riders here can have a bit more of a draft benefit. Not huge draft benefit from three riders, I got to say. Henneken racing up there at 4.2 to get ahead of these ladies. 20 seconds behind now to about a group of four. On the men's side, well, the group that got away, about four riders, you had O'Brien, Sam Hill. They've been caught. Mark Bosted leading the charge on the front, and they're back to a much bigger group happening. So the men's group, this is going to be a large bunch sprint, maybe looks like about 13 riders there, 14 riders. Then hitting 21 kilometers, about 9K to go. They're in the last part of this race, but yeah, this is a bigger group than I think a lot of them are wanted. Torben Partridge-Madsen just hanging off the back there. I just saw some orange numbers from him. He is sprinting to get back on. That's burning a lot of matches that just isn't useful. Looking at the team game here, though. 1, 2, 3, 4 aero riders. 1, 2, 3, 4 NZ Bro. And then some DPAC riders. Oh, it's a big mix. This is going to be a tight battle between these teams.
It's a surprisingly large group, honestly, through here. Not surprising to see Sam Hill giving it another crack. And I do think that the Aero team have nailed in previous seasons the ability to just keep a really tight race strategy, one over the top of the other. And when it comes to the esports racing, and I reckon that the amount that the strategic side of it has evolved over the last couple of years just blows my mind. They have just absolutely got it down to a fine art to a degree where you can, when this first started, we could look at their power numbers and you could almost guess what was going to happen just purely based off that. Now it's a completely different story. Like, the evolution has been such that it's not just about, raw numbers now, which is actually quite cool. Joe Pesci, famous actor, is his name even Joe? Julian, his name is. Apologies, Julian. Is joining with Sam Hill now. Devola's chasing. 6-second gap, though, let's revisit our original 15-second mark. Do you remember when we were first commentating on these community leagues and it was like 15 seconds or you're not going anywhere? And then we saw a couple get out to 45 and come straight back. And then we saw a couple win by 5 seconds. So I'm not sure the 15 seconds is necessarily as relevant now as it used to be at the start when it was a bit of a different game. On this kind of course, even 10 seconds could be very dangerous because you can see that there are a few little gaps opening up behind Chong and Stevenson, Nick Squalari, 3, and then there's a little bit of a gap to Sam Lindsay. Like, it's all just little gaps are starting to open up and showing that they're starting to suffer a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Hill, he's doing a great job here, but they're going to get caught. We had Pesque there from France who was right on his tail, but we saw Tabalong there. He was pushing here we go, counter-attack off the front of this group. Tabalong's looking good, actually. This is a good little counter-attack. They're now at 23.4 kilometers. 25K, we're announcing the 5K hero. Keep an eye out for that. And then 5K to go, they'll be finishing the race. So we'll stick with the men for a while. I'll give an update on the women is that the AHDRL 3 group of Michelle, Georgia, and Mel have all stuck together. They have got Henneken 8 seconds ahead. Henneken has unfortunately dropped the power a little bit. She couldn't hold it on. Mel is pushing hard and they will catch her. Group behind, 54 seconds back. So if you're looking for a strategy, I can see Cy Bradley here in the chat. Cy, AHDRL ladies, BCAT, Apac, have a look. They executed it to perfection.
Yeah, and 7 seconds. Did you say it took you 8 is
Oh,
where
no,
you got
I
to.
feel slow.
I think you've got to get on the old quick fingers, Anna Russell.
Oh.
Sounds like. And Size throwing down that he could do it in 5 or 6 seconds. So I think you need to get to work on the old bike change if you want to make this your
Well,
tactic.
people
Not
are
to throw
talking
shade
about,
at you.
they're running macros, they've got stream decks. I mean, geez, this is getting pretty serious stuff. I don't know if, I built a computer. Just give me that for this season. I'm not sure I can start building macros and stuff and doing bike swaps. I just want to do it for a bit of entertainment. You know what will happen though? No one will do it, and I'll just be that random person out of the draft trying to catch up from behind. So I'm not going to do it as slick as AHDR, that's for sure.
That will be in itself a little bit amusing if that is what plays out. So, so let's just see how that one goes for you. The women are not too far from the finish. The men as well. The women at about the 22-kilometre mark. The men, as we can see, just mere hundreds of metres off the announcement of our 5K hero. I've got a hero in mind. I'm curious about yours. You get the ultimate say, Anna. You've got the power.
Oh, God, I love this. Yeah, I love the power. I'm like, wait, here we go. 25K. The 5K to go hero of the men and women's Apac race. Race 1 is the AHDRL Women's BCAT team. They threw it down. They did the bike swap. They laid it all out there. They had the confidence. And just as we're seeing on the right-hand side, they're catching Henneken there from Rave. They're 30 seconds ahead of the group behind. Kudos to those ladies. Chapeau. You are the 5K to go hero for race number 1 APAC. Good job.
Indeed. I did think that Henneken had it. I thought that she could really do that. So they've done a tremendous job, Fung, Miller and Bond, in order to catch back up. What about the fellas, though, Anna? I'm very biased in who I would choose. So,
well, we're just doing one for the whole race. So unfortunately, the fellas.
Oh, one for the whole race.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And it just wasn't that same degree. I mean, if I had to give it to someone, have we got someone off the front? We do. Sam Lindsay and Mark O'Brien. You knew he would do this, didn't you? He just can't help himself. He's got to attack off the front.
He's got such immaculate timing. He really does. And I did say I felt sorry for all of the fellas having to race him because he just has this beautiful sense of timing. And he races like he just really knows when everybody's under a bit of pressure, and he takes quite a lot of pleasure in choosing to attack in that moment while everybody's really vulnerable. Like it's actually very, very impressive. It's good to see Sam Lindsay with him. Sam Lindsay, I would say, has ridden a less efficient race than O'Brien. He has been a lot more active, and he has tried some moves off the front. So they are a very good pairing. Less than 10 seconds, though, still, and not in small fact because the bunch know that if they let Mark O'Brien go too far, it's all over Red Rover. Sam Lindsay, after his stint in Prem League, is a similar one. They're the kind of riders, if they even move, like if you notice them scratching their nose and their power going up, you would stick to them like glue.
Yeah, exactly. Sam Lindsay as well, still the same as the rest of the team. Rocking the white socks, looking phenomenal. I've got to say, he's they've brought their A game to this one. He is looking good on Mark O'Brien's wheel. 8 seconds though, and it's getting led. Sam Lindsay must be right. No, I was just thinking, why is John Story off the front chasing down his teammate? But Sam Lindsay is not his teammate. He's his countryman, but he rides for ZWC. So that's why Story is on the front. We know from his rowing background, he is great on the bike. What is going on? No socks.
Well, John's story is John's story. I think that we saw it at the beginning of last season, Anna. He had a lot of, he just has so much power, but he made a few little rookie errors. He finds himself in A because he's just such a monster on the bike. Like, he's just so fit and capable and strong and powerful. but a little bit of time to catch up on the tactical part. He did so really, really well last season, though. Like, he caught on really quickly. And I mean absolutely no disrespect in my commentary around his racing abilities, because I think to cross over from another sport, we are really getting to see him learn how to really race. Normally, you don't get to see it up close because they're doing that coming through the categories before they even arrive at the A. So it's quite interesting to watch him out there, but certainly he is an absolute asset to that team.
Yeah, he's amazing. It's these guys are looking pretty good. You can just see in the distance those Tron bikes kind of sparkling at the back there. Little kind of dust coming off. Is this? I know Aaron Bleakley is in the chat.
Is it raining?
Yeah, it must be. Aaron Bleakley's in the chat. He's the one who guided me through, like a PC Yoda, how to build my computer. And I think it's just because we just got a pretty high resolution now going on. We're starting to see things in the game I'd never even seen before. Little bit of rain dust coming off the bikes. Looks great. Looking at this, though, 28.7K. They're coming into the last parts of this course. They're going to have a big downhill. This is not good for Sam and Mark, is that they've got this downhill coming up and they've got a huge pack behind, only 6 seconds back. They're very close to finishing this race. But unfortunately, I just think that kind of, shark-like figure of those Trons in the back hunting them down is not boding well for them. 5 seconds now. They're going to have to do something. Sam Lindsay down to 2 watts a kg. He's just trying to get on the wheel of Mark. I think they know they're going to get caught, and now they're saving it for a bit of a sprint.
Well, I mean, did they not watch Flanders?
Oh, who didn't?
Don't be Tadej, fellas. Be Vanderpool.
Oh,
if
that's
you're going to choose one. Well,
poor today,
at least
right?
in that instance. You're right. It's down to 2-3 seconds. They're about to get caught. They're just going to hit out and go for goal, but they might actually make this.
Sam Lindsay, he could do this.
Close the
Look at
line
this.
is.
I think he could make this. He has pushed. Oh,
Oh,
right on the line. Looked like Chong there with Haggerty. We've actually had a call out about Haggerty being one of the ones to watch in this. We'll have a look at the replay of that. That was pretty amazing. I think he ended up second. You have to have a look at the results at the end, but there was some tight racing with Sam Lindsay there. We've got a replay. He dropped the arrow pretty early. We'll take a look at what happened. Right on the line, I think there were orange numbers everywhere. You can see Mark O'Brien. I think he just burned too much gas early on. Sam's opened up around 12.9, 14 watts per kg. Chong there from World Elite Zwifters coming through at 15.4. What a rocket. And the line so painfully close for Lindsay. And there we go. Look at that positioning of Chong there with Haggerty right on his wheel from NZ Bro. So it looks like World Elite Zwifters, then ZWC, then NZ Bro, and Partridge Madsen. Great race because he dropped off a couple of times. Looks like he may have come through for 4th, but we'll have to check out the results at the end. We'll head through to the women as they are coming around the volcano now.
yeah. Well, Haggerty and Chong are both pretty handy sprinters, but I noticed that both Haggerty and Partridge Madsen were hanging around the 16.6 watts per kg mark in that sprint. Holy moly. Like, that is seriously solid riding from those guys. Great effort from Sam Lindsay to hang on for second there amongst the flurry of the sprints, because it looks like O'Brien ended up down in about 13th for a bit of a differential on how that sprint can go. We've got these 4 riders. We've got Georgia Miller, Michelle Bond, Claudia Maria Henneken, or Claudia if she's German, and Melissa Fung. So if we're looking at how they're going so far, we're looking at Michelle Bond at the moment. She's pretty comfy with her heart rate, sitting, in a reasonably good position. Melissa Fung, do you recall last season, Anna, I was commenting on her heart rate and how high it was, and it was hanging around the, over 200 mark, and I sort of said, I think she's about to blow a foo-foo valve because that's very high. But she didn't. She just kept hanging out at that heart rate. And so I am looking at her numbers now, and she is over 200 beats per minute at the moment. But now I know that I shouldn't be too concerned about that, which is good.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're not concerned. I bet she'll be glad.
Yes. If it does come down to a sprint, I have to say that it is Melissa Fung who I'm looking at. She's got really great acceleration. She's an absolute little pocket rocket with a very good kick on her, and I think that they would be silly to underestimate her. But there's 3 AHDRL riders. How are they going to play the sprint, Anna, against each other, or just make sure that they don't end up 2nd, 3rd and 4th behind Henneken?
Oh, yeah, and this, keep in mind, this has had no intermediaries, so it is all about placing across the line. It's kind of, there was a while back where I think it was Quick Step versus, it was like 3 Quick Step and 1 rider from maybe Bora or something. This was a few years ago. And the Bora rider actually won. So I think Henneken does have the opportunity here to sort of play the bluff and, I don't know, sort of take it out over the 3, but she must be so strong. I'm very, very impressed with how she stayed up with this group. Yeah, there we go. Mel is saying it. Well done, Claudia. Great ride. Absolutely. She stayed up on a Tron against gravel bikes, and now she's with them at the end. She must be strong, and that's making me think that she could end up taking this out because the effort she's had to put in.
Look, I'm just going to throw some numbers out there.
1.
Henneken is a 6.8 watts per kg sprinter, 15-second sprinter. Fung is around an 11 watts per kg 15-second sprinter. So if she plays it right, Fung, if she just follows Henneken's wheel really and times it well, I think that she would have to be feeling, pretty strung out, kind of like Van der Poel at last year's Flanders where he got beaten by Casper Asgreen because he was just completely toast. So it does happen. It's not that you can just look at those numbers and go, well, that's easy. But I would be backing Fung at this point, notwithstanding what an incredible ride that Claudia has had. And again, only a level 31 Zwifter. So I think that big future ahead for her in the racing because she's still really developing in terms of experience.
We've got some opening up here at the sprint. Mel is coming through 7.8, 7.9 watts per kg. Her teammates are coming up. She's saved a feather, which is probably not the best one, but she's doing well. Henneken there, all the way to the line. Mel and Henneken going for it. Looks like Mel will take it out. Henneken coming in 2nd with Georgia for 3rd. That was we don't even need to see a replay of that. We could I will actually, though, because I love seeing when people start to open up their sprints and how it works. But me and my sprinting, it's been a work in progress. But that was interesting to see. I'll take you over, have a look, where they just sort of started dropping those orange numbers. Georgia started going first from about 3rd wheel back, but it became a mano-a-mano battle between Mel and Henneken. Mel, huge numbers. At the end, taking it out, Henneken, wow, chapeau, what an amazing race. Georgia coming through for 3rd and Michelle, her teammate, for 4th. And then all the riders who did not do the bike swaps as that team strategy, 37 seconds back at the end. So great work, AHDRL. That was a phenomenal start to race number 1.
It was. I'm kind of surprised, actually, at Henneken's numbers online based on what she just sprinted. And I have a feeling that she hasn't done a lot of sprints because the numbers she was putting out there are so far above any of her recorded numbers. And she feels to me very much like a rider who very shortly is going to find herself in that uncomfortable category shift position. Let's see how she goes. We kind of don't wish that upon anybody when there is no A division to race in. But let's see how we go. We'll take a look at the results when they come through because, Anna, that was a pretty cracking start to the season, can I say? Thank you, everybody, for turning up with your race legs on. Nobody really took a moment to just warm into it, did they? No, they absolutely didn't. Men's results here. So we did see that finish. Kenneth Chong coming through for the World Elite Zwifting Sharks. Great win. That was a great sprint at the end. Timed it perfectly. Sam Lindsay in 2nd from Deepak Elite. I keep calling them ZWC, sorry. It was Deepak Elite. Joshua Haggerty for NZ Bro. They're in 3rd. And then Aero in 4th. So 4 different teams in the top 4. But then look at that. Deepak Elite, 5th and 6th.
Pechko and Devola, Sam Hill, the community hero from Aero in 7th, John Story from NZ Bro in 8th. Then we've got Mark Bosted still racing for Aero. That's controversial.
And then is it?
I thought he was in an NZ Bro kit, so that's interesting. And then Nicholas Squilari rounding out in 10th. We'll see if the B cat riders have come through yet. Yes, there we go. Take it away, Katie.
All right, let's take a look at the Bees. Now, we didn't see these guys racing, but we can see from their numbers that they had a pretty solid day out there. Dylan McLean from Aerodynamics. Oh, that's a cool team name. He took the win ahead of Adam Dawson from the Ballers. Jeroen Lammers from Cryogen Etna in 3rd. All together in a bunch sprint here. Ben Milne from NZ Bro Urukai. That's a new team. I haven't seen them yet. Anna, great to see them with another team. Ben Rolfe from WMZ Bumble in 5th, Cameron Jose from Aeropress in 6th, Stephen Hands in 7th, again NZ Bro Urukai, Matthew Hargraves in 8th from Alien 161. That's the first of them in the top 10. They're normally a bit more getting warmed up this season. Andrew Bosco from WZ Boom in 9th, along with his teammate Clinton Leong, also from Boom. Top 10 within 0.6 of a second. That's a pretty solid sprint from them.
Big sprint finishes in this race. So this is CCAT. Not sure if they have finished yet. They may still be out on course, but you know the drill. Head to WTRL.racing for that, and we'll see if we've got the women's results. I hope so. That would be great to see how they went. Oh, let's have a look. Yes, we do. Melissa Fung. We saw her coming through. That was phenomenal. The AHDRL Bullets. They also got the 5K Hero Award. Claudia Marie Hennekin, great job. Absolutely amazing. She came in 2nd from Raven Bees. Georgia Miller from the Bullets in 3rd. Michelle Bond from the Bullets in 4th. Lucy Singh from TBR. She was Lucy 2, I think. She was in 5th. And then Lucy 1, Lucy Esdale, who always gives me a message with their cocktail of choice. I actually might read that out now because I completely forgot to read that out. They made a cocktail for this race called the Jungle Rocket. Banana liqueur, triple sec, Midori orange juice, and a dash of grenadine. Shake vigorously with ice. Do not stir it. So there's some pretty specific instructions here. She was in 6th. Emma Feliz for Chicks and Nicks in 7th, Kimberly Coon-Stokes for TBR in 8th, Corinne Dolan in 9th, and Kylie Adia for the AHDRL Bullets in 10th. We'll see if we've got the C Women, if they've finished yet. Doesn't look like they have, so it is a longer course. They start a little bit later. I'll make the assumption there's no Ds coming through yet either, but head to WTRL.racing for all of those results.
Yeah, we do have a huge number of community athletes out on the track across all of the divisions this season, which is sensational. Next week, Anna, it's a little bit more of a traditional one. We head to Greater London Flat for a team's time trial. It's about 26K. That'll go pretty quickly. And after this week, you know, we often see the team's time trials change things up a little bit. We saw that last season, with NZ Bro. Their bunch racing lagged a little bit behind their team time trialing because they were just so strong but still figuring out the tactics. But every other team, knowing that they were so strong, then changed the dynamic for the rest of the season. So I think we can expect that again. So, Anna, good luck tomorrow. We will be watching for this bike change. The challenge to you is to get it under the 8 seconds because Corinne Dolan did it in about 6.5 seconds. So I'm looking at you for that, to try and better that. And we will see everybody, if you want to tune in for the next 18 odd hours. We have every time zone finishing in America West tomorrow afternoon. And Anna, we'll see you next week for the team's time trial.